What's up, bass players? Ryan here from BassMatter, taking you through the core bass learning program, and in this lesson we're going to talk about triads and the first and second inversion, what they are, how to use them, and why do you even care about them. Let's get to work. Alright guys, this lesson we're going to talk about triads. Now I know that some developed players out there are looking back at this going, oh, I remember triads, I use them all the time. And I bet that you developing bass players are going to be wondering more about what a triad is and how it's going to help you in your bass playing right away. Let's face it, a lot of bass players out there are simply stuck on playing the root note. When a guitar player says, hey, go ahead and play me a C major 7 chord, the bass player is going to play just C. And then down the road they've learned that they can play a 5 or a 5th pretty safely on most of these chords. And then sometimes the 5 doesn't work for whatever reason, and they're not quite sure why, but it doesn't work, so they just forget about playing the 5 and they play just the root and everything's safe. Now, in a lot of songs, just playing the root serves the song beautifully and makes it a really strong and supportive bass line. But you start hearing those bass players out there that start expanding on their bass lines a little bit, and they get the opportunity to play some additional notes and not be so repetitive in their playing and so bored with their bass lines. So triads is the opening area into understanding what chords are, okay? So let's identify that. What's a chord? A chord is a combination of 3 notes or more played at the same time, okay? A triad is a 3-note chord, and it's specifically for the ones that we're going to be covering today, which is going to be major triads, minor triads, and diminished triads, are 3-note chords. Now, bass players do something that's called arpeggiating, okay? And you've probably heard that before, where you've seen chord charts and you've seen arpeggio charts, and you're trying to figure out what's the difference between the two. Well, arpeggiating is a verb. It's something that we do to a chord. So we take a chord that has, let's say, 4 notes in it. The note scale degree is 1, 3, 5, and 7. And we arpeggiate it, meaning that we play those numbers, 1, 3, 5, and 7, one note at a time, usually in a ascending fashion. Of course, we don't always have to play it in an ascending or a descending fashion. We can mix it up. But if we're arpeggiating, we're playing the notes of the chord one note at a time. And that's what we're going to be doing today, is taking triads, which are chords, like a C major chord is a C major triad, all played at the same time. And as bass players, we're just going to play it one note at a time. So let's look at the C major triad. Don't forget to get the triads chart off the website first, totally free. It's available right now. Go and grab it. Okay, triads. Oops, here we go. So I'm going to go to my C here, and I'm going to play my major scale first. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? Now I'm just going to play the numbers 1, 3, and 5. 1, 3, 5. That is a C major triad. 1, 3, 5, okay? Now, what's cool about this is that opens up right away a large amount of freedom. So if a guitar player says, hey, we're going to jam over a C major chord for a bit, you can... You don't have to just play C, 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 C. You can actually work through your triad a bit. Now, how about some freedom with that triad? That takes us to our inversions, okay? So on your chart, you see your major triad. Then right next to it is the inversion of it. So the first triad, or the triad, was 1, 3, 5. Now we're going to take those same numbers and put the 1 at the end and start and go 3, 5, 1. But we're going up in pitch. We're always climbing higher. So it was 1, 3, 5 for the triad. The first inversion, I'm going to start on the 3, go to the 5, and then now I have to find my 1, but the next octave up, right next to it. So it was the note C, right? So I've got 3, 5, 1. Now my note C is right up here up top, okay? So the first triad, or the triad, 1, 3, 5, the first inversion, 3, 5, 1. Now I have the second inversion. Okay, so I'm going to take that 3, 5, 1, and I'm going to put the 3 on the end, and I'm going to go 5, 1. Now I have to climb up the fretboard, and this is the shortcut. If you're ever out of strings to be able to climb up there, you just go up your fretboard 4 frets. 1, 2, 3, 4 will take me to my major triad number 3. Okay, so 5, 1, 3. Okay, let's double check that with the notes. Okay, so in the C major triad, we have C, E, G is the triad. Okay, so I should only be playing C's, E's, and G's. Okay, triad C, E, G, first inversion E, G, C, but I'm moving up in pitch. Second inversion, G, C, E, okay? And so now that gets me a whole big stretch and expanse all across the fretboard to be able to play. Okay, lots of really fun things that we can do with that here. And now you've got this whole, 9 fret span to be able to start exploring your fretboard with. Just because you learned a triad and it's 2 inversions, now you know how to move all over the fretboard with just a C major chord, and you can start serving the song a whole different way. Same concept for the minors. Let's look at our minor triads, okay? So I've got my a C major triad, 1, 3, 5. Now the minor triad is 1, flat 3, 5. So I've got 1, flat 3, 5, okay? And that's the minor triad. So the same thing if a guitar player, so we're going to play a C minor chord here. You're not just stuck on C, you can go 1, flat 3, 5. First inversion is the same thing as it was for major. We're going to put the 1 on the end, so we're going to go flat 3, 5, 1. Then I'm going to go 5, 1. Now if the major was 4 frets up, the minor is going to be 3 frets up. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Oops, let's see, where am I? Okay, there's my C minor second inversion of the triad there. And that's my second inversion of the C minor. So let's cover the C minor again. Looking at the notes, I should have C, E flat, G, E flat, G, C, G, C, E flat, okay? Now the cool thing is that if we go back to our last video, which was on the diatonic order, right? We identified that of the 7 scale degrees, okay, 3 of them were major, 3 of them were minor, and 1 of them was diminished, and that was the 7. So here's what's fun about using your triads is right away you're going to be able to use these in almost every single song that you play. And if you've ever stumbled into where that 5 that you've been so comfortable playing just isn't working anymore, it's because you've ran into, most likely, a diminished chord or something that has a flat 5 in there, and because you're not familiar with how chords have been working until you start to see these triads, you just ignored it and played the root. So let's look at our diminished triad here, okay? So that's on the other part of on the chart there on the far bottom right is the diminished triad, and that's 1, flat 3, flat 5. Then we invert it to the first inversion and go flat 3, flat 5, 1. And then flat 5, 1, still a flat 3, so it's the same place as our as our minor triad was. Let's take a look at the notes. I've got C, E flat, and I'm going to call this G flat, okay? I'm not going to call it F sharp, I'm going to call it G flat. So I've got C, E flat, G flat, E flat, G flat, C, and then I should have G flat, C, and then I should finish off with my E flat for my third. And what do you know, following the shortcut there of spacing things out by 3 frets or else 4 frets for major or minor got me to the right one. So we're set up there. Guys, that's triads. It's a super, super powerful tool. What I would like you to do is go back to the diatonic order video if you haven't watched it, review that, and then practice going up your fretboard playing just the first triad. So we can go through the diatonic order there where it was 1 was major and I could have a major triad. Then I go to my second note, which was D, and that's my C major scale. So first, I'm sorry, let me back up. First play that. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And that's following our diatonic order climbing up the fretboard. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay? Now from there, 1s are major, 2s are minor, 3s are minor, 4s are major, 5s are major, 6s are minor, and 7s are diminished. This is the great way to start using your triads to climb all the way up and down the fretboard and get some pretty sweet stuff going. Let's look at that. So we've got a major triad, minor triad, minor triad, major, major, minor, diminished, major. That way you start getting a full expanse of the fretboard using your triads, and then of course start working on your inversions, climbing all the way up and then all the way back down your fretboard. It's going to get you real familiar with your fretboard pretty quickly and start priming us for our modal conversation, which is right around the corner, guys. Okay, make sure you stay tuned for our next lesson, guys, because before we get into really jamming and playing some really fun riffs here, we've got to start making sure we're using the right notes. Quarter notes, whole notes, eighth notes, half notes, 16th notes, and getting the feel for it. Stay tuned for our next lesson, which is a conversation about timing and how to communicate by the notes. We're going to look at some pretty sweet tricks. Guys, this is Ryan here signing off from BassMatter.com. Thrilled that you're here. Find us online, guys. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Lots of really, really good info going to continue to come out of here, guys. I'm looking forward to it. Also, sign up for our newsletter, right? Right there on BassMatter.com. You can sign up for the newsletter. It's totally free. Lots of great info coming out, making sure that you're the first to know about what's going on. This is Ryan signing off from BassMatter, and we'll see you guys at the next lesson.